Hello, this is Elder Tehila Firewind, High Priestess of the Covenant of the Open Mind, and you're watching Wicca 101 Abridged. Hail and welcome. The topic today is on the duality of deity, a key belief which distinguishes Wicca from other deity-focused religions. Wicca believes in the dual nature of all things, breaking everything down into two key dualities. The first duality is called polarity, i.e. masculine versus feminine. Masculine energy is aggressive and unyielding. It brings vitality and strength to those who wield it, who possess it. Feminine energy is nurturing and giving. It brings wisdom and protection to those who possess it. So masculine is the yang and feminine is the yin. Push and pull, give and take, the two actions which together create every interaction in the universe. If you think about it, you really are either taking energy in or putting energy out. There are no other options. So that is a true dichotomy. And it's found throughout every religion or philosophy on the globe, going back to the dawn of time. So it's not a new idea. And don't get caught up in the terminology used in Wicca. It's called masculine and feminine because Wicca is a fertility religion, one which emphasizes what happens when man and woman come together to create life. So there are, of course, other ways to create life, or in which life is created, asexual reproduction, etc. But science has come a long way since these terms were originally defined. So just know that the terms masculine and feminine, they're not meant to refer to gender in any way. And we know this because gender didn't exist when these concepts were devised. This would have been early to mid-1900s when sex and gender research was still very lacking. So to the founders of Wicca, folks were men if they had dicks and women if they had vaginas, and either could have either polarity. Even those who hesitate to say that either sex can have either polarity, they often still believe that women can align with air or fire, the traditionally masculine elements, as their primary element, or that men can be healers and align with water or earth. And maybe in the past they had more strict gender roles. I don't know. I mean, there's not really a way for us to necessarily tell if that was the case or not. But most people do believe that anyone can have any polarity. Some don't. And as with any religion, there's room for discrimination based on polarity. In this case, it takes the form of a radical stance against the LGBTQ community. For instance, some covens would not admit a trans member to participate as their desired sex unless they clearly passed as that sex, and basically gave the coven leadership no reason to doubt that it was their birth sex. Some covens won't admit trans members at all, and they may not admit to that, but some people are really uncomfortable about it, which doesn't make any sense to me personally, but many would believe that women should have female polarity and men should have masculine polarity. There are even some, the most common way of discriminating, though, today is probably that some covens do not permit gay leadership of covens, saying that like a man initiating another man or a man drawing down the moon as a high priest is not allowed. They emphasize the combination of male ritual leadership with female divine authority. So the man leads the ritual, the woman is the one who brings the goddess down into her body and says the charge, and that's like straight out of the Gardnerian Book of Shadows. So that would be like very traditional, British traditional witchcraft. Still other covens only permit new members if they are already in heterosexual couples that are coming in together. So that was an ideal that was written about by Gardner in Witchcraft Today. It's not very common. I only knew one person who ever was a member of a coven like that. He was older, and that coven had disbanded. So it's something of a remnant age these days. And so despite the fact that many people use this concept of polarity for discrimination, it's also the same ideology can be used to explain why people are different in these ways. So some within Wicca believe that polarity is what gives rise to gender. and that transgender people just have a very strong metaphysical self which juxtaposes their physical self. So in this way, being trans or genderqueer in no way violates the key tenets of Wicca. And rather, someone with mixed polarity or a polarity which lies opposite of their sex might even be better suited for connecting with both sides of divinity, which is a main focus in Wicca. So maybe that's, maybe it's not what all these bigots like to say. So in every religion you have those who are open-minded and those who are bigoted, and this is one of those situations where the same principle can be used and it can go either way. So I urge you to consider for yourself what you believe the concept of masculine and feminine really means. And in any case, Wiccans always say that both polarities are found within all things, in the same way that a yin-yang has a bit of the opposing color inside of the larger shape. So even the more radical groups admit that things are fuzzier than they may seem. And the important takeaway from polarity is that something is either generating energy and sending it out, which is the masculine energy, or taking energy in and processing it in some way, which is the feminine energy. And this is the foundation of evocation versus invocation magic, or spell work versus ritual. And that entire dual way of thinking, of sending it out or bringing it in, that dichotomy. So due to the importance of this dual nature and the fact that life occurs when these two forces interact, Wicca worships both masculine and feminine energy. And the Great Rite, which initially involved the high priestess and high priest having actual sex in front of their coven, in today's world is just a symbolic blending of these two energies. So the athame, a blade used to represent masculine energy, would be dipped into the chalice, a cup usually filled with some kind of liquid, often wine, sometimes a cauldron is used, and that represents the feminine energy. And so this symbolizes the act of ultimate creation when two beings come together to form another one. And in this case, the child isn't like a literal child, it's metaphorical. It can refer to a new endeavor, the spell work from earlier in the ritual, the seeds of transformation within yourself. It's a metaphorical child that's being born as a result of the working that you're doing. So also note that the athame represents the divine masculine, and it's used for evocation magic. The chalice or cauldron represents the divine feminine, and it's used for invocation magic, for ritual. So Wicca is very consistent with its interpretation of these forces and the tools used to channel them. So this is the most important duality found in the Wiccan world, which stresses the interaction between the two forces. But there is a second duality that's worth mentioning, and that involves the light versus the dark. So within Wicca, only life energy is utilized, but the dual nature of divinity is also acknowledged. So gods are seen as being not only a force for good, but rather, a balanced force which can act spontaneously or chaotically in a variety of ways, typically according to some larger divine plan. Often the actions of deity are compared to threads being woven into a beautiful tapestry. And sometimes these weaves benefit us, and sometimes they take us into peril. And there's both positive or good or obviously beneficial qualities of deity, and then there are the negative, spiteful, impulsive qualities, those which do not serve any of us individually, but which have great effects on the course of humanity. So Wicca works almost exclusively with the light aspects of deity. The only exception is around the harvest holidays, when darker aspects are used to help bring us closer to our deceased loved ones. So Hecate, Caradwen, these are examples of the darker deities, and there are still more found in the many different pantheons, like Kali from Hinduism, and there's others. Most aspects within Wicca, though, like most of the time, are like Diana, Artemis. They represent concepts of life that are beneficial, those which we strongly desire to embody and utilize for transformation. So there is a quad form of deity. Really, there's the light feminine, light masculine, dark feminine, and dark masculine. The divine energy used in Wiccan ritual comes from somewhere on the far on the light side, directly in between masculine and feminine. So it's not perfectly balanced in terms of revering light and dark aspects of deity, but it is perfectly balanced when it comes to polarity. And as with polarity, there is light in the dark and dark in the light. So I hope this helps you understand the duality of deity better. Thanks for watching Wicca 101 Abridged, and from all of us here at the Covenant of the Open Mind, hail and farewell.